Stories for all seasons.
Stones of Harvestia, Genesis of Thanksgiving. Part 5. Finale. The Baron flew to the top of the building. Romero disappeared in a flash of lightning. In the next split second, a flash of light illuminated the rooftop, causing the children to cover their faces with their forearms. As the flash dissipated, the Baron could be seen holding Romero's neck and punching him in the gut repeatedly. "Do you think that little trick of yours would work against a god?" the Baron said, holding Romero's agonizing face close to his. Soon, the Baron's leg sunk into the floor. When he looked down, he saw large tentacles pulling him into a black hole. Daphne's eyes were white, and her hand trembled, trying to pull the Baron in. The Baron dropped Romero and let out an ungodly, animal-like screech. The building shook, and a figure whose upper body touched the clouds came sprinting towards the rooftop. Daphne turned around and screamed. She pushed all of the children and Ms. Corrin into a portal at the last second. As Daphne was about to step into the portal, the Baron caught her by the collar. Romero hit the Baron with lightning-charged punches. The Baron grunted, but held a tight grip on Daphne and Romero to be flattened by the giant. As Daphne and Romero looked up, the giant's foot came roaring down towards the rooftop. Then, a green blur flashed in front of them and formed itself into Tudo, who was flying. Tudo held up the giant's foot. Within seconds, Shawana came whistling from the skies and hit the Baron with so much force, his body made a hole in the roof. Before they were taken down with the Baron, Shawana caught Daphne and Romero by the hand. She floated with them safely to the ground below. Then, another loud boom shook Autumnville when Tudo pushed the giant on its back. Out of the building, the Baron burst through walls with fury on his face. "Enough of this," the Baron said. He began throwing balls of flames in rapid succession. Romero and Shawana sped out of the way, but Daphne got hit, causing her to drop to the ground and roll the hot flames away. "A lone rat," the Baron said. He picked Daphne up like a rag doll and threw her against a wall. She was out cold. The Baron didn't hesitate and sped towards Daphne's limp body. He brandished his sharp claws and raised it to pierce her skin. Before he could make contact, Shawana punched him several hundred feet away. Before he could collide into anything, she intercepted him and punched him into the clouds. Like mad bulls, the hordes began to close in on the teens. "Daphne!" Shawana screamed. "Take her! I'll hold them off!" Romero said. "Okay, I'll take her to Miss Corrin," Shawana said. Limping into position, Romero took deep, slow breaths and raised his hands to the sky as the hordes stampeded and rumbled to the ground to get to him. Immediately, bolts of lightning danced across the hordes, taking out hundreds at a time and breaking the regeneration stones inside of them. However, the crazed monsters trampled their fallen comrades and sped towards Romero with murderous intent. As the monsters drew closer to Romero, giant, thick green vines shot from the ground in a wide circular formation around Romero. The vines threw, smashed, and beat the hordes back. "Are you all right?" Tudo said as he flew down to Romero. With exhausted eyes, Romero said, "No, but it doesn't matter, does it?" Romero took more deep breaths and lit up the sky again with lightning. Coming out of the clouds, the Baron flew down with Shawana's dangling body in his hand. He threw her towards Tudo and Romero like an arrow coming from a bow. Immediately, Tudo erected a vine and caught Shawana, gently lowering her to the floor. Tudo sped towards her and put his ear to her mouth. She's breathing, but injured badly. Thank goodness for that Harvestia armor, Tudo said to Romero. The Baron looked at Tudo with fury and flew towards him. With great speed, Tudo met him in the air. As Tudo prepared to strike him, Tudo's fist met nothing solid, as the Baron was nowhere to be found. Down below, the hordes were closing in on Romero. So, Tudo raised thousands of vines from the ground and squeezed the nearby creatures until their stones popped out. Romero was on his knees, trying to keep the hordes away with his weakening lightning. Among the strangled hordes, the Baron sped towards Romero, toppling his own minions in the process. In a panic, Tudo flew down to the Baron, but not before the Baron landed a crippling blow to Romero, sending him flying into a tree. The Baron went in for another strike, but his fist was held by Tudo. The two exchanged blows, rattling Autumnville by their sheer force. After a while, Tudo began to overwhelm the Baron. Tudo wrapped him in thick vines and began squeezing him. "Marcaine!" Tudo screamed as he ascended above the clouds with the Baron. "Cresce Tudo, my blood," Marcaine said. "You coward! Stooping so low, deceiving mortals with power only to possess their bodies in return. What happened to you?" Tudo said. "What happened to me? Have you ever heard of a little place called Gluten? Well, that's what happened to me. That's what your great Genetrix rewarded me with after millennia of service to her and passing me up for grand vine knot. I think you skipped over the whole assassination thing, brother," Tudo said. The two of them were getting higher. They were now clear of all clouds. Marcaine looked down and laughed. "Trying not to kill your beloved humans," Marcaine said. "You will know soon enough," Tudo said. Marcaine laughed. "If I wasn't prepared, I would have been worried. Besides, it's always a treat to see that glorious, ascended form of yours. So come on, don't keep me waiting." A few seconds later, they were above the Earth's atmosphere. Tudo's skin began to glow. "Oh, very pretty," Marcaine said. Tudo gripped Marcaine's head, then said, "I hold no pleasure in punishing you, but your actions cannot be overlooked. Now, to Glutum you shall stay, never to return to this realm again." An explosion of green lights rippled for miles into space. When the lights faded, Marcaine laughed. "Wow, I have to admit, the great Genetrix did make the right choice. I don't believe my ascended form was anywhere close to that," Marcaine said. Tudo gaped as he saw his brother unscathed by his attack. "Oh, that face you make is quite lovely. I will love it more when I go to Harvestia and see it on the great Genetrix's face. Now, behold my ascended state," Marcaine said. His eyes ignited into blue flames, and his skin had unknown markings drawn with blue fire. He sped towards Tudo and pummeled him. Tudo's stark speed held no contest against Marcaine's. Not able to react, Tudo wrapped himself in thick vines. "Oh, look! A caterpillar in his cocoon. Getting desperate, are we, brother?" Marcaine said. With ease, he punched through the viney cocoon and pulled Tudo out, ripping a hole in the viney shell. Marcaine gave Tudo a flurry of punches, holding him up by his orange hair. Marcaine lifted Tudo's body up to his and said, "What a waste of zeal. Look at you, brother, fighting for a world who left you abandoned, just like they abandoned me. That old, wretched creature would rather sit on a diamond throne and let human children fight battles meant for gods. It was my choice alone. I would rather die a weak fool than to be a coward who betrays their home, Tudo said. Spoken like a good little disposable soldier, Marcaine said. Marcaine lit his body with flames, causing Tudo to scream in agony. I didn't think I'd like the flames more than my vines, but I must admit, they have a little more spark to them. I'll let the hordes finish you off, Marcaine said. Marcaine pushed flames into Tudo's chest and sent him barreling towards the earth. Tudo landed, making a huge crater from the impact of his body. Immediately, the hordes closed in on Tudo, pouring into the canyon-sized crater like a violent flood. Coming from above, Shawana, Daphne, and Romero surrounded Tudo in a circle. Their battered bodies faced the hordes as Tudo struggled to even open his eyes.
Don't worry about me. Protect your people and hide,
Tudo said. You protected us, so we're protecting you, Shawana said. Besides, I transported them someplace far away. They'll be safe for now, Daphne said. The ground shook as the stampede of creatures closed in. The teens braced themselves for what would be the last stand as they stared down death in the form of a stampede. The sky darkened, and Marcaine's lips curled into a smile as the hungry beasts drew closer to their prey. Marcaine lifted his fist and said, "For the glory of Mark!" Suddenly, aurora lights painted the sky, cutting off Marcaine's victory chant. Large silver holes appeared everywhere. Out of them, legions of breeze knots, aqua knots, ember knots, and vine knots spewed out with desperate speed. Marcaine bathed himself in blue flames. He let out a powerful screech that made the hordes divert their attention to their new enemy. Then the ground shook again. This time, thousands of giant beasts and humanoid entities flew, crawled, and ran to the battlefield in all directions. "Prove your worth and vanquish your enemies!" Marcaine shouted. As the clashes began, the teens lifted Tudo away while the distraction was heavy. As they limped inside of a nearby building, large beasts deviated from the main fight and charged the kids and Tudo. Then, a whip of fire extended from the sky. Immediately, violent winds blew from different directions. Dust and burning debris slammed into walls and windows. The teens only had time to take shelter behind their eyelids. The dust quickly settled as a gentler breeze cleared the fiery projectiles. In the direction of the scuffle, Sinis threw aside a giant beast's head, and Ventus was crushing regeneration stones. Sinis sped the teens and Tudo. She embraced Tudo, who couldn't stand on his own, and said, "You almost broke your promise." "Not intentionally," Tudo groaned. "You look absolutely awful. I guess you were right about Marcaine's power," Ventus said. "Yes, only the great Genetrix can contest his power, I'm afraid." "Well, we're in luck. Fortunately, she armored up for the occasion," Ventus said. "Really? The great Genetrix wearing armor?" Tudo said. "Oh yes, she doesn't look half bad in it either," Ventus said. "So, what changed her mind?" Tudo said. "Them," Ventus said, pointing to the teens. "Looks like your little gamble paid off," Sinis said. "Thank goodness it did. Your husband nearly got us exterminated, shouting at the great Genetrix as though we have 2 lives," Ventus said. "Where is she, anyway?" Tudo asked. "She should be here right about now." The sky flickered rapidly between shades of oranges, blues, whites, reds, greens, blacks, and browns. Then, the sun turned a stark red. The sound of a monstrous horn reverberated the sky, causing the clouds to move. Then, the great Genetrix appeared in the midst of the battlefield. She opened her mouth, and an ear-shattering scream sounded throughout the world. Thousands of the creatures of Glutum fell limp and exploded. With gritted teeth, Marcaine charged the great Genetrix in blue flames. She extended her hand towards Marcaine and stopped him mid-flight, leaving him frozen like a statue. "You think I didn't expect you to wipe out my armies," Marcaine said. "I don't care for the thoughts of the damned," the great Genetrix said. Marcaine laughed. "That's funny, because I stopped caring for your opinions as well. Look at you, Mother Nature. Is that what the humans call you on Earth?" "Well, I was hoping to stain that sparkly throne of yours with that pretty blood. However, I'm content with turning you into a corpse in a lesser world." The great Genetrix slammed Marcaine several times telekinetically. "That feels kind of good. Now, let me try." Marcaine grunted, widening his arms and breaking free the great Genetrix's telekinetic grip. He sped towards her and landed a fiery punch. The heat caused trees miles away to burn. The aquanauts immediately began showering the fires by rain. The force of the punch made the great Genetrix slide a few feet back. "Shocking, isn't it?" Marcaine said, striding towards her. In a flash, he threw enormous fireballs at her, to which she blocked telekinetically. However, he teleported behind her and slashed her back with a flaming blue sword, thousands of times within a second. Her armor began to break. The ground suddenly opened up, and a massive geyser shot Marcaine into the air. The great Genetrix disappeared and punched Marcaine to the ground, causing a crater even deeper than the one Marcaine made with Tudo's body. Fury was plastered on his face. Immediately, Marcaine got up and made large balls of fire fall from the sky. The heat was unbearable even at that distance. The great Genetrix extended her hands and caused the fire from the sky to halt. "Let's see you stop these as well," Marcaine said. From every direction, large fireballs appeared out of thin air. The great Genetrix gritted her teeth and groaned under the pressure. Marcaine seized the opportunity and began slashing her millions of times while her arms were occupied keeping the balls of fire from colliding. "Don't give up! You can do it!" Marcaine said. He laughed while increasing the speed of his slashes. The fireballs slowly began closing in, and her arms began to shake. "You are pathetic, but I must commend you for lasting this long against my ascended form." The great Genetrix laughed. "This is your ascended form?" she said. "You're laughing as though you're not about to die." "I see you have no knowledge of my ascended form. Well, none of Harvestia knows either." Marcaine's eyebrows furrowed. "Behold," she said. Her skin became completely black. The sky and earth became completely devoid of any light. The flames that were pressing towards her vanished. Within the next second, Marcaine was bound with thick gold chains with a radiant light shining on him. He let out an agonizing scream in the darkness. It felt like the whole universe was watching in silence in the horrible darkness. The great Genetrix walked to her prisoner, her skin blacker than the darkness itself. "Marcaine, For your transgressions against this realm and Harvestia's, your soul will be destroyed. Say your last words before you cease to exist in any realm, she said.
Glassmead lives, and this is just the beginning of his war against the Council of the Heavens.
The great Genetrix extended her hands and instantaneously turned Marcaine into white ash. His body and soul were no more. It was a few days since the war. The white tree withered right after Marcaine was destroyed. Talk of Glassmead caused the triumphant feeling of victory to be short-lived. Those left alive in Autumnville stood before the great Genetrix on an elaborate stage. Shawana, Daphne, and Romero stood alongside Tudo, Sinus, and Ventus. Your world was infected by an evil you could not see. Your greed and envy are more destructive than any weapon you can craft in this realm or the next. Put this kind of evil out of your world and hold fast to peace and charity. This day shall be a memorial to you. You will remember it as the day of Thanksgiving. This will be a day of sharing, charity, camaraderie, and peace. Help those of lesser state, and think not of yourselves higher than your fellow man. The great Genetrix lifted her hands to the sky and said, "Because of the sacrifice and selflessness of 3 young people among you, I will grant you the bounty of Harvestia for 1 year, after which your grounds will return back to normal before the curse of Marcaine." The ground rumbled, and the same fruits and vegetables that grew in Harvestia were everywhere. Children and adults alike began indulging instantly. Laughter and even some cries of happiness filled the air. The great Genetrix walked over to the teens. They shook as her iridescent gaze fixed on them. The stones you have inside of you are forbidden to be used by man. However, there is an evil far more powerful than Marcaine that exists in your world. Marcaine was just an announcement for his arrival. I have consulted the Council of the Heavens, and they permitted me to allow you to keep the stones. Do not become corrupted with this power. You will not lord over these people. Instead, protect them. If you follow these simple commandments, you will have the full might of Harvestia on your side, the great Genetrix said. From that day, the realms stood in great anxiety as they prepared for Glassmead's arrival.
Stories for all seasons.